A big hello and a very warm welcome to Brand Equity with me, Sonali Krishna. This week, we continue our coverage on Goa Fest 2016, whether it be an in-depth discussion with marketing veterans that outline the theme of the industry conclave, to understanding what one of the most strategic minds in our industry thinks an effective campaign should consist of. It's all happening right here over the next 30 minutes. So without wasting any more time, let's get this show on the road. Now, in advertising, the old never age, and this is literally intended. Be it creative formulas for the perfect campaign or the age-old debate on client-agency relationships. I caught up with ace marketers Oliver Malletz, Chandramouli Venkateshan and Samar Singh at Goa Fest to garner their perspective on what's wrong with the agency business for the very last time to put this age-old topic to bed. Take it away. Thank you so much for joining us, gentlemen. Truly a pleasure having you on Brand Equity.
Thanks for being here. Thanks for letting us.
Great. So I'm sitting today with, three big marketers. I'm sitting today with cumulative experience being so much that I really want to bring to the fore today your challenges as marketers and your challenges with your partners or your better or worse halves, which are your agencies. So I want to start with you, Mouli, and I really want to talk about this example that you have cited about, this great partnership of Amitabh and Dharmendra, who is the Jay and Viru in Sholay, and you cited that as that image being the partnership that you see with yourself and your agency. Viru and Jay, if I've got the names right, were equal partners, right? They were both equally invested in that partnership and had equal standing. My point is, when you cite that example, how can you say you're equal standing with your agency? Because clearly, even at Goa Fest, the industry conclave, which is hosted by the advertising industry, the subject is three things how the agencies can improve themselves. It's not a dialogue where they say, something's wrong with this partnership, it's gone a little bit awry, and how can we bring the magic back? The conversation is already, a little subservient because you're saying, tell us how we can be better. So it's not really a marriage of equals. So how do you say that this imagery that you painted is justified?
So firstly, I like that Jay-Viru partnership of Sholay, because to me, an agency-client relationship is about taking complementary strengths. And I think what Jay-Viru shows is they're very different characters. One was flamboyant, other was no nonsense. One was romantic, other was an angry young man. So on and so forth. So really, an agency-client partnership is about taking different strengths. Sure. But then forging it into a partnership where you are put together very effective in the marketplace. Yeah, and I think that's the construct of a agency business partnership. And I do believe the analogy works very well of the equivalent of Sholay.
Fair enough, but I'm saying in this situation, and any one of you can take it. Can this ever be a marriage of equals? Because finally, one is a vendor, the other is the owner.
I don't think it's delusional. I think you have to take the contractual things aside. I mean, once the contract is done, the relationship is set. A marriage contract is a contract, but you push it aside. You ignore that after a while. So if you're both working towards the same goals, then it's a marriage of equals. And it's not always equal. Each partner brings different skill set to the table. I hate the term vendor. I do not call people vendors. I call them partners.
I was just simplifying them.
No, I understand, but it's brought a lot on by procurement nowadays, because exactly. Procurement gets in and now they're negotiating. Procurement loves the term vendor, but procurement's not the partner in the relationship. Procurement is a sidebar that once you get over that, get past it, now move on. Focus on solving the same problem. Focus on going through life's journey together. That's the partnership. I think agencies don't always understand the true value of what they can bring to the table. I just think that they have a lot more. They're stuck in this vendor partly because procurement, partly because historical. They have a lot more assets that they can bring to the table that they know. They have a lot more value that they can bring to the table than that they know. Money is just one form of value.
Basically, you are the brand custodian. That's clear. I mean, you're the brand master, right? How do you expect agencies to then become brand custodians? Because, a lot of you marketers express that you would like them to take brand stewardship. But the fact is, what we hear from a lot of agencies is that they don't want to give us that part, because today they are, for a lack of a better word, they're very infidel, because, you know, that's in vogue, because you like trying out smaller agencies, boutique agencies, other partners, just to try out who's more efficient, who's more cutting edge. And so because of this, you know, experimentative phase that we're in, they say that there is no full accountability, full ownership that rests with us. Am I accurate in saying so?
There's a brand owner. The ownership of the brand very much lies with whoever is owning the brand.
Yeah.
It's an asset that's owned by somebody. Brand custodianship is a joint game. Yeah, it's never one or the other. Yeah, it is a joint game. How much of the joint game is exercised jointly is often a function of the value and the talent on the table at a given point of time. And in brand custodianships, I have observed that often the game is sort of a seesaw. Sometimes the talent on the table from the agency side is very strong and they actually exercise a lot of custodianship. Sometimes the talent on the table from the client side is very strong. They exercise a lot of custodianship. And again, I think that's good for partnerships. I don't think we should simplify this game down to say it should always be 50-50. Sometimes it can be 60-40 one way, sometimes it can be 60-40 the other way. That's the nature of partnerships. It's a question of who has the better capability at a given point of time to make a call.
For instance, I mean, I just want to ask you, what was the provocation for you to have to have a pitch? Right?
Do you want the actual answer?
Yeah, I want the answer.
It's procurement. That's a simple answer. We're mandated to pitch every 3 years.
Okay. No, I'm only asking that because if you just look at last year, right? I mean, look at the number of global pitches, right? That were stressing the media landscape out. So there's obviously a problem, and I think that can't be ignored, right?
No, and it's a problem of what was mentioned earlier. I believe it's a problem of what's meant. There are so many new media technologies out there, especially in the data-led programmatic space, that it's difficult for one agency to do it all, because the talent pool that's available, especially in that space, is very thin. It's very new. We're talking about a discipline that's about 5 years old.
So as it stands today, the partnership between an agency or several agencies and the client or the brand owner, wherein lies the problem today?
I would say that I think this is related to a few other things. It's related to the talent that is available in the country, the talent that chooses to make advertising a career, the talent that chooses to join the client side, because it's a function of, I mean, someone mentioned remuneration, etc. Certainly it's a function of that. It's also a function of what Molly was saying in terms of invested in the story. I mean, today the extent of relationships are not necessarily measured by the longevity of the relationship, but perhaps by the intensity of the relationship. Today, the same threats that agency faces are what we face. 90% of the people that have left my team have not joined any other organization. They've just decided to start up something of their own.
But this is still a relatively new threat for all of you. But if I look at the agency side and I look at the talent problem as you know, an issue that has been haunting this industry, it's an age-old issue. I mean, we can have the same issue was discussed 10 years ago. And the same issue is being discussed now. So talent is it's a decade-old problem, if not more. But the question that I'd like to ask, and you know, you guys also have an outside-inside view into the agency life. What is the problem? Why is this industry not being able to get talent? Okay, remuneration, we understand, is one point, but there has to be more.
I think things have changed, Sonali. You know, today there was a time when we were growing up, when there were 5 professions that you could perhaps do. You could join the armed forces, join an organization, become a chartered accountant, a lawyer, a doctor, and that's about it. My submission, the youth today have so many different career choices. Every generation is born into greater affluence and opportunity.
You should do something about it, right?
Sorry?
I mean, you have to do something. You have to reinvent yourself, right?
Of course you do. But I'm saying that's not only true the agencies. That is true for clients as well.
And are you as companies then looking to reinvent yourself, because let's say an FMCG business, or an automobile brand may not be as sexy as, let's say, a Google, Facebook, or some strange app that comes and catches the fancy of millions of users. So you might not get the best crop.
So there is actually a very, very positive change in some aspects of the advertising game, which is really in creativity, filmmaking, writers, a whole host of things. I mean, really, advertising industry is becoming a talent hub.
It's becoming a stepping stone.
Stepping stone or a talent hub, whatever you want to call it. Yeah. So I think there is a little bit of a problem that the advertising industry has to solve on the business side of advertising. I think that's why I do believe the advertising industry has to think disruptively. I think they're thinking like the clients to say, I will hire management graduates, and that's not a race that they're winning.
Sure.
Right? Now, how can the advertising system disruptively think about it to say, how do I change my business facing talent?
Okay.
Yeah. And part of it might be in the advertising agency model itself.
Which is?
Which is to say that if you're joining an advertising system in different parts of the agency, is there an unsaid hierarchy? And if you join one part of the hierarchy, do you feel that you're equal to some other part of the hierarchy? And those are the issues that the advertising industry has to think.
I think clients can do their bit as well. I'll give you a live example without taking names. At a mainstream agency of ours, one really highly decorated, award-winning creative head was presenting films to us and concepts to us that he or she had not seen until the day of the presentation, and they were not even his or her ideas, but it's a big name, lots of awards, etc., and they were just not flying. And I had a thought in my mind. I said, you know what, a lot of personal respect for you, great career, etc., why don't we give the youngest, who are your two youngest most creative talents? I deliberately said, who are the youngest, sharpest people? And I realized a lot of the ideas were simply not reaching us, and that we've actually completely changed it. And in the last 2 years, only those two young boys, one is 26 and one is 27, they are the only two guys doing some really exceptional work for us. So sometimes the client can help identify you can ask for that particular talent to be assigned to your account.
Last question. I want to talk about this constant, doubt that I think clients have about the fact that they're being overpriced or cheated, or there's there's a kickback of sorts, or there's an exaggeration of production costs. And while there is no way you can prove it, I think that the constant niggling, botheration that you have, why is it that they're not able to be more transparent and gain more trust with their long-standing clients? Why do you think that is a problem amongst all clients? You're not the only one.
No, I think to me, I think there are layers involved in this game, and to me the answer lies in processes rather than intent, because even an agency is an aggregator at the end of the day in this game.
Yeah.
And there are black boxes beyond the agencies as well, right? And I think as an ecosystem, as a marketing ecosystem, which is a combination of client, agency and the ecosystem, I think we need to bring processes. There is a lack of process right now.
Fair enough. Would you agree, Saban?
Now, from the agency's point of view, they can say, look, we don't make enough money on a rate card system, or on a sliding scale system, or a percentage system. This is how we need to supplement earnings, which is where he talked about the trust, the transparency, the process build-up, etc. None of us are of the view that agencies should not make money. He in fact said that you must make sure that they make money that will keep them invested and interested. But if you're transparent and tell me this is my margin, I'm making 15% on this, I think every client will respect that approach far more than hidden costs that are packed here, there and everywhere.
Sure. Last words from you?
For me, I look at it a lot from the media side, and quite frankly, there is money out there in the black box, and the black boxes are getting, I touched on a little bit of it today with trading systems that agencies have, where they go off and buy inventory and resell it to us, and we don't know what they paid for it, so I don't know if their margin is 15% or 30 or 45%. I don't know. We personally refuse to purchase that. We will not deal with a system like that. But I think you're always going to have that level. Do I believe agencies should earn more money? Hell yes, and I believe that they can earn more money if they give us business results. I have no problem paying an agency more money if we make more money.
Thank you so much for taking time out and joining us and being so candid with all your comments on how this relationship will evolve going forward.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, here's hoping we can bid adieu to that discussion for a while at least. It's time for a shut breather, but coming up in just a moment. Welcome back. The show's called Brand Equity, and I'm Sonali Krishna. Integration is key to successful advertising and identifying the problem, or these days, as they call it, knowing the higher purpose of a brand is extremely essential. This is exactly what Crispin Porter and Boguski are striving to do. We caught up with Benny Thomas of CPB and asked him to cite 3 examples of campaigns where the agency managed to nail it by bringing exponential results to their clients. Feast your eyes.
Hi, my name is Benny Thomas, and I am Executive Strategy Director at Crispin Porter & Boguski. Yesterday doesn't matter. It's really tomorrow that matters. 3 campaigns or 3 brands that I'm particularly proud of are, I guess, Dominos, American Express Small Business Saturday, and the third one is Charles Schwab, Own Your Tomorrow. So on Dominos, I think when we started working with them, they had a problem. They couldn't figure out what was wrong, but we talked to consumers and we said, you know what, the honest truth is your pizza is terrible. It's very difficult when you get that kind of negative feedback from consumers to actually accept that and decide to do something about it. The Domino's team, when we showed them this, they almost started crying, the chefs, and they said, well, we got to fix the pizza. So we worked with them to do what is now called the Great Pizza Turnaround, where they fixed the pizza, and we went out and told people, we did campaigns and ads that said, yes, we know that our pizza sucks, but we're doing something about it.
Domino's found themselves in the middle of a PR nightmare.
Now to a sickening video posted online by 2 Domino's pizza workers.
And in the midst of this baptism by fire into the world of social media, they were forced to face another harsh truth. Most people really didn't like their pizza.
Domino's tastes low quality and forgettable.
Tastes like cardboard with tomato paste and pepperoni on top.
So after 50 years, they started over and completely remade their recipe. But after dishing out a mediocre product for so long, how could they convince anyone that this new pizza was truly new and improved? The solution? The Pizza Turnaround campaign. Instead of hiding the hate, Domino's embraced it and owned up to the criticism in a big way.
Domino's pizza crust to me is like cardboard.
I hear what some folks are saying about our stuff.
The sauce tastes like ketchup, totally void of flavor.
I mean, that hits you right in the heart.
There comes a time when you know you've got to make a change. You've got to move forward.
What's different about the new pizza?
We improved everything. Sauce, crust, cheese, you name it, it's better.
The entire story unfolded online in a 5-minute documentary, accompanied by a completely uncensored Twitter feed with every single comment about the pizza, good or bad, posted in real time in an ultimate show of transparency. Next, Domino's head chefs hit the road and brought their new recipes straight to the doorsteps of their harshest critics.
Did you say Domino's crust is a little too rubbery?
Domino's crust is a little too rubbery.
I did.
Domino's pizza!
I didn't know you were listening.
Uh-oh. Said some pretty rough stuff.
And I was just trying to be very honest. Oh my God, that's delicious.
This is great.
It was an unorthodox approach, to say the least.
It takes alpha meatballs to stand up and say, America, we suck.
But did it work?
Well, Domino's Pizza, one of the few companies doing well in America. They're reporting an almost unheard of increase in their business, up 14%.
That and a host of other initiatives that we did turned around Domino's and grew the business by 22% year on year in terms of same-store sales, and grew the stock price from by about 1,300%. The second brand I want to talk about is American Express, and what we worked with them on was to ask them, what is your higher purpose? They said, well, we exist to help small business get more business.
When it comes to the holiday shopping season, there's a day for the big boys, Black Friday, and one dedicated to internet merchants, Cyber Monday. But what about the small, independently owned local businesses, the ones that create jobs and invigorate neighborhoods? Shouldn't they have their own day? American Express Open thought so, and they created a day just for the little guy, Small Business Saturday.
We didn't do much advertising. What we did was we created a kit that those small businesses could use to publicize Small Business Saturday. And then we did ads asking people to support their local small business, right? And what we did was, working with American Express, they used their lobbying teams to go out to mayors and politicians across the country to get them to support that. Most of the politicians came out in favor of this, and as we said, the U.S. Senate actually passed a motion making that officially Small Business Saturday. To the extent that President Barack Obama decided to support it, it became a tremendously successful campaign for American Express, and today it's an official day in the calendar in the U.S.
In the end,
Charles Schwab, we still work with them to launch wealth management services. And one of the things we wanted to do was to bring a different approach to the business than the big old Wall Street firms. And we looked at it, and the insight that we had was that the Wall Street firms are very much like priests who say mass in Latin, or priests in India who do puja in Sanskrit. They do that because it's a language most people can't understand, which then gives them power over you, right? Part of the reason for that is to make people feel ignorant. And why do you want to make people feel ignorant? Because then they become dependent on you. And when they're dependent on you, you can charge them all the fees that you want. We created something called the accountability guarantee. And it was a promise that we made to consumers to say, we can't return the money that you lost. If you lost $1 million, we can't return that to you, because those are the risks that you take with investing. We will return our fees to you.
I've always thought the best part about this country is that we get to create our future. You get to take ownership of the choices you make, the person you become. I've been around long enough to recognize the people who are out there owning it. The ones getting involved and staying engaged. They're not sitting by as their life unfolds. And they're not afraid to question the path they're on. Because the one question they never want to ask is, how did I end up here? I started Schwab for those people. People who want to take ownership of their investments like they do in every other aspect of their lives.
So it's really about taking back ownership of your money and therefore of your future. And that's summed up in our positioning, which is Charles Schwab, Own Your Tomorrow.
And with that, we're completely out of time. We hope you enjoyed the show. Do take the time and drop us a line at brandequity@etnow.tv, or alternatively, log on to our Facebook page. That's facebook.com/brandequity to be up to speed with all that's happening in the world of brands. You could do the same on Twitter @brandequity live. I'll see you next week, same time, same place. Until then, ciao, ciao.